This comes to us from the PressDemocrat.com out of San Diego. We'll do it live, you troglodytes. We're doing it live, troglodytes. And that's my San Diego homage. But no, look, a man who stabbed a San Diego police dog in January did it again this past Friday, this time stabbing a second dog during a standoff with police. That's 2 police dogs in 1 year.
Dedrick Jones was arrested Friday after he was approached by officers who were responding to reports of vandalism. As News 8's Regina On reports, police say the canine officer was stabbed at least 2 times before Jones was taken into custody.
A man sentenced in January to a year in jail for stabbing a San Diego police dog was arrested again on Friday for suspicion of stabbing yet another San Diego police dog. 35-year-old Dedrick Jones faces 7 possible felony counts, including harming a police dog and assault with a deadly weapon, according to police. On Friday, officers responded to a vandalism call and police saw Jones with a knife. Police say when Jones tried to approach police and wouldn't back down, they called in Canine Hondo.
When officers arrived, they saw Jones swinging a knife. Now, remember, they see Jones swinging a knife. Remember, this is the Jones that stabbed one of their canines back in January. Hey, who's this? That's the guy that stabbed our dog in January. So what do? Send in the dog! Right on time. Ambulance. There's always an ambulance at 7:45 in the morning. But that's what you got this guy that stabbed this police dog in January. What do they do now? Send in the dog! What?
Officer Tani sent Hondo in to apprehend the subject, and during that apprehension, the suspect stabbed Hondo several times with a knife.
Hondo, a 2.5-year-old Belgian Malinois, has been with his handler since 6 months of age.
It's heartbreaking that your first thought is, how bad is the dog hurt? Is it as bad as Titan? Is the dog going to survive the injury? Are we going to get the dog back? But it's very personal. It's very emotional. The primary injury was right in about the center of the chest of the dog. It was a pretty deep wound that went inside his chest. The vet had to open it up a bit more to do some exploratory evaluation to see if there was additional internal damage. That resulted in just a couple of stitches.
And I feel bad for these police dogs. I know some people may not, but I do. Because these police dogs are trained this way. They don't have a choice. They don't have the option. The police dogs are foot on. And they're ordered. And they do it loyally because dogs are loyal. So I feel bad for the police dogs. The officers who were not identified used less lethal weapons to halt Jones, including what? Releasing the dog on a guy who stabbed a dog in January.
Lieutenant Tavanian hopes for criminals like Jones to stay behind bars.
It is frustrating that criminals with a history of violence aren't facing more significant consequence, time in custody. And here we are again with the same subject, stabbing another one of our San Diego police dogs.
But like a good dog is supposed to, Hondo is well trained, excited to help our police officers save lives.
Sometimes we knowingly have to send those dogs into a situation where there's a high probability, and we know this, that the dog may be injured, may be killed, but to protect a human life.
In the meantime, he's recovering at home, being a normal dog until he can get back out into the field.
Now, Titan, which is the dog from January, needed 100 stitches and part of his colon removed. According to the news release, Jones pled guilty in April to felony animal cruelty and assault on a police officer. Sentenced to a year in jail, he was released in June. I didn't even do a year. Based on the credits he earned for time served while awaiting his case to conclude, police said.
Back in January, Jones was armed with 2 knives and stabbed another police dog, Titan, after an hours-long standoff. Titan received 100 stitches and had part of his colon removed. Hondo is expected to be okay, but was stabbed in a central part of his body, which could have been a much worse outcome.
Police Chief David Nislett blasted that outcome in January in a statement of news release, saying our system must do a better job holding violent offenders accountable. It is ironic and tragic that the man who had the gall to stab a police dog in January committed the same crime months later. The suspect must be prosecuted to the full extent of the law so he will not have the opportunity to cause further harm. Sounds kind of funny, don't it? That a police chief would say, this man must be prosecuted to the full extent of the law so he will not have the opportunity to cause further harm. A police chief in San Diego says that. What about cops that cause further harm? And I'm not talking about when somebody fights a cop and he's trying to arrest somebody, an actual criminal, and they start fighting. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when a cop just freaking loses it and hurts somebody for no reason because he's pissed off. And I got a badge and don't you dare tell me no. I'm going to beat your ass.